That would be a nice background.
Yeah, I like that idea. Help promote her business.
Can't do that on iPad.
You're live.
Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. Glad that we could be here on Wednesday, January 6th for our town council meeting. Would someone from council be willing to read the acknowledgement?
I could do that, Councillor. Here.
Thanks, Councillor Pat.
We acknowledge that we are on Treaty 6 territory, a traditional meeting grounds, gathering place, and traveling route to the Cree, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Métis, Dene, and Nakota Sioux. We acknowledge all the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit whose footsteps have marked these lands for centuries.
Thank you, Councillor Pat. So we call this meeting to order. Is there any additions, deletions, or changes for the agenda?
Nothing from administration, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Is there anything from council? Okay, be looking for a motion to adopt the agenda as presented then.
I can make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Judy.
I make a motion that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Great. Any comments, questions, or concerns on the motion to adopt the agenda? Okay, haven't heard none. We'll call for a vote. Anyone opposed to that motion? Haven't heard none. The motion is carried. So we move on. Now we are fortunate we get a delegation this evening. We get to celebrate the years of service on the Rec and Culture Board for Laura Lemieux. Happy New Year, Laura.
Hi, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Nice to see you. So we have a presentation to make for Laura for years of service. And I think Councillor George will be presenting that, or no, Councillor Pat, not sure.
On behalf of the town of Bruderheim, we wish to thank Laura for her dedication to our Rec and Culture Board over the years. She has been a real trooper, and we owe her a great debt of thanks. Continued success in whatever she's going to be doing next. And excellent job. Thank you, Laura. Thank you.
Thanks,
you,
Laura. Speech.
No speech. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it.
Oh, we appreciate all you've done for the town. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Happy New Year. Thanks, Councillor Pat and Councillor George and Sherry in the background there. So we'll get set back up for the next portion of the meeting. Just wait a couple seconds.
Okay, thank you.
George and Pat are getting back into place.
School.
Okay, so thank you for that presentation to Laura and acknowledging her years of service on the Rec and Culture Board. Thanks to administration for lining that up. Number 6, we need a motion to adopt the minutes of the December 16th, 2020 regular meeting of council.
Sure. I'd make a motion to adopt the minutes of December 16th, regular meeting of council.
Thank you, Councillor Wayne. Any comments, questions, or concerns with that motion? Haven't heard none. I'll call for a vote. Anyone opposed to the motion to adopt the minutes? Haven't heard none, then the motion is carried. And we move on to number 7, council priorities. We'll start with the information requests and we'll go around the horn here. Councillor Judy.
I have nothing, thanks.
And Deputy Mayor Dan.
Nothing for me today, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Pat.
Everything is good, thank you.
Okay. Councillor George.
Nothing for me.
Councillor Wayne.
Nothing for me.
Councillor Len.
Nothing at this time.
Okay. If there's no more information requests, I have one information request. Just wondering on the street signs. I know that the town is on track for replacing some of the unreadable street signs for the streets and avenues. And I was in Brookside a while back, and some of the street signs you can't read the numbers anymore. And I'm just inquiring when those ones might hit the replacement time frame.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, those are on this spring's spring construction summer program list.
That's awesome. And now we can do information requests, and we'll go backwards. Councillor Len, any
Nothing at
information
this
requests?
time.
Councillor Wayne,
Nothing this time.
Councillor George,
Nothing at this time.
Councillor Pat,
I'm good, thank you.
Deputy Mayor Daniel,
No program requests for me, thanks.
Councillor Judy.
No program requests from me, thanks.
Okay. And so we can move on now to number 8, request for decisions. 8.1, appointment to Metro Kalen Board.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Administration would like to see council approval for member appointments to the Metro Kelowna Library Board as set out in bylaw 01/2018. Establish a municipal library board in terms of reference for the operation of the library board. Recommendation that town council approve the appointment of Carolyn Aleko to the Metro Kelowna Library Board. Council passed bylaw 01/2018, a bylaw to establish the Metro Kelowna Library Board on January 17th, 2018. Section 3F states the appointment of the members of the board shall be made at an organizational meeting of town council, or in the case of a vacancy arising from any cause, a successor shall be appointed at a council meeting. Resident Carolyn Aleko submitted her application for membership on December 21st, 2020. Strategic plan areas, a volunteer recruitment and retention program, a community is educated on responsibilities and limitations of council administration, other impacts, legal and legislative, bylaw 01/2018, establishing a municipal library board in terms of reference for the operation of the library board. As new applicants apply to become members of the Metro Kelowna Library Board, the information is brought to town council for approval. The town council approved appointments are shared with the members of the Bruderheim Rec and Culture Board. And that's it.
That's awesome. Thank you. So we're looking for a motion to,
I'll make that motion.
okay, go ahead, Councillor George.
I make a motion that we accept the application for Caroline Aleko as a member of the Bruderheim Metro Kalen Library Board as requested.
Thank you for that motion, Councillor George. Any comments, questions, or concerns from council? Councillor Wayne, you have your hand up?
Yes. Am I okay to vote on this? Yes.
I was concerned about that too.
He has no financial gain,
Yes,
does he?
Mr.
Do
Mayor,
you?
through Councillor Aleko, it is a volunteer position, right?
Okay. Fair enough.
Thank you for that
Thank
question.
you.
Councillor Judy.
So the only question I have is, in your communication plan, shouldn't it be with the members of the Bruderheim Metro Kelowna Library Board?
Yes. Yes, thank you.
Okay, you read it and I'm going, whoa. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thanks for picking that up. Any other questions, comments from council on the appointment, Carolyn Aleko? I just wanted to say thanks to Carolyn. She's a great volunteer in our community in the past, and excited to see her joining up on the library board. It's awesome. Thank you, Carolyn, for doing that. So
Thank you,
if there's
Carolyn.
if there's no other comments, questions, or concerns, and I'll call for a vote. Anyone opposed to the motion? Hearing none, the motion's carried. That's great. Welcome aboard, Carolyn. So that's 8.1. Now we move on to 8.2, reserve transfer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In reserve transfer, install roof hatches at the water distribution pump house. To provide council with information to transfer funds from reserves, the town council approves the transfer of $5,200 from reserve RU3 to cover the cost of installing roof hatches at the water distribution pump house. When the water distribution pump house was built, the plans did not consider the need to replace the distribution pumps and access from the roof. In order to install the distribution pump, roof hatches had to be installed. Strategic plan areas to provide safe and sustainable infrastructure in a community that is educated in responsibilities and limitations of council and administration. Other impacts, financial reserve policy, FIN 091. The installation of the roof hatches at the water distribution pump house were required for the current distribution pump installation, as well as for repairs and replacements in the future. Information will be shared with the Director of Public Works and Finance staff for follow-up. Enclosed is a financial reserve policy. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for that. I'm looking for a motion from council for the reserve transfer for the roof hatches. Councillor Pat.
I move that town council approves the transfer of $5,200 from reserve RU3 to cover the cost of installing roof hatches at the water distribution pump house.
Thank you for that motion. Any comments, questions, or concerns from council with that motion? Councillor Len.
Yeah, I'm somewhat concerned that what did we do in the previous years? That's been there for
30-some years now, and we replaced pumps before, so why would we need a hatch now?
Mr. Mayor,
Or
through Councillor
repaired pumps before?
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Falardo, we've never pulled the pump all the way. Like maybe there's been repairs at the surface level, but never on the in the reservoir side. Am I right, Mr. Tomashat?
Mr. Mayor, through the Councillor Falardo, the only thing that's been done in regards to the pumps and the motors have been the motors. The pumps have never been removed from the building, and if they were, they would have been cut the same way they were when we took them out. Roof hatches were not available to yank it or take the pump out and remove it in one piece. So in order to put it back in one piece, we had to put the roof hatches back in or install the roof hatches to install that pump in one section. So they have never been pulled from day one. The pumps, not the motors, the pumps.
Thank you for that information, Dennis. So this is actually going to save some money in the future when we have to
Do work.
Absolutely. It would, Mr. Mayor, it will save money. And when it comes time to, excuse me, rebuild pump number 102, we won't be faced with that that challenge of trying to get the pump out of the roof.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, questions, or concerns? Deputy Mayor Dan?
I'm just curious what reserve RU3 is.
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Scooswell, that's a utility reserve. So those franchise fees that we're collecting go into utility reserve, and they're used for utility maintenance and repair.
Okay, do we have, how do we find out the balance in these reserves?
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Scooswell, I can provide those to council. My apologies, I don't have that one right with me.
No worries. Thank you.
It's in the six figures, but I can send that to council after.
Thank you for the question. Thanks for the answer. Any other comments, questions, or concerns from council with this motion? Haven't heard none, then I'll call for a vote. Anyone opposed to this motion? And hearing none, the motion's carried. And so we can move on now to 8.3, another reserve transfer for the repair on the motor on the water distribution pump.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The reports provide council with information on a transfer from reserves. The town council approved the transfer of $17,670 from reserve RU3 to cover the cost of repairing the vertical motor on the water distribution pump. The 30-horse vertical motor with turbine pump in the water pump house and needed to be replaced. The pump had to be removed through the roof of the building. Strategic plan areas to provide safe and sustainable infrastructure. A community is educated on responsibilities and limitation of council and administration. Other impacts, financial reserve policy, FIN 091. Chief Administrative Officer Patty Podrozny advised council on November 20, 2020 that the water distribution pumps would be required to be repaired, and the administration would be coming to council for reserve transfer requests from our utility reserve to cover these unbudgeted repairs. Information will be shared with the Director of Public Works and Finance for a follow-up.
Thank you for that. We'll be looking for a motion to do the reserve transfer. Councillor Wayne.
The town council approves a transfer of $17,670 from reserve RU3 to cover the cost of repairing the vertical motor on the water distribution pump.
Thank you for that motion. Any comments, questions, or concerns from council on that motion? Councillor George has his hand up.
There's a difference between a motor and a pump. Did we repair the motor or did we repair the pump? And if so, what did we repair?
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Campbell, I'll let Mr. Tomashat take that one.
Mr. Mayor, through to Councillor Campbell, when I first came on in 2017, pump number 101, which is the one that we actually replaced, a pump portion of it. Pump number 101 motor was rebuilt through Sturgeon Rewind. Pump number 102 motor was rebuilt in 2018. So both motors for both those pumps have been rebuilt, and the pump for number 101 has now been rebuilt with the leftovers to be 102, which we are looking at getting that rebuilt with our reservoir expansion if we should get it.
So in reality, we repaired a motor and a pump.
2 motors and 1 pump.
And this $17,000?
Is for the pump portion of 101, not the motor. The motor was replaced in 2017. Was rebuilt.
So then this motion is wrong.
Nope, it
This
is not.
motion, it says the vertical motor. The motion should read the pump assembly.
So, Mr. Mayor, through to Councillor Campbell, you are correct. That is my fault. I missed that one. It should be repairing the vertical pump of motor number 101. Pump number 101. Thank you.
Now, my question is, did we do any comparisons as to replacing that pump with a new one, new pump assembly, or repairing it? And I want to know what the difference is.
62,000, Mr. Mayor, through to Councillor Campbell, to just replace the pump portion of 101 would be approximately $62,000 versus the 17,000 rebuild. And I can explain, if council would like, what was involved in the rebuild versus a brand new pump.
That would be very good for information for the people, crowds.
So a new pump would consist of obviously a new column shaft, new pump bowls, new bearings, new bushings, new impellers, new packing glands, lantern rings, and of course, all the associated material that goes with it to put it together. This motor, or this pump, was rebuilt. So the impellers were resurfaced. The bushings and the bearings were both replaced, all replaced. And the bowls were resurfaced, not replaced. So again, with Sturgeon Rewind, they've been a great company to work with. We'll get another 30 years out of the pump versus spending in excess of $40,000.
And what kind of warranty do we get on this work?
1 year. But we've seen, so how do I explain it? You would see any anomalies within the first day of this pump, and we've seen nothing but an improvement on the output of this pump since we've rebuilt it. So in other words, Councillor Campbell, the motor speed actually runs lower, so we don't have to have it go as fast to pump the same amount of water.
So you're saying the clearances and everything is up to the specs of a brand new pump then?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for that. So do we need a friendly amendment to amend the motion to read correctly instead of a vertical motor, vertical pump of motor 101?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That would be good.
You're amenable to that, Councillor Wayne?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, questions, or concerns from council with the motion?
I didn't get what, was that motion amended?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks for catching that, Councillor George. Any other comments, questions, or concerns with that motion? Okay, not hearing anything then, call for a vote. Anyone opposed to the motion? And hearing none, the motion's carried. And we're on to 8.4, work from home policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Administration would like to see council approval for the work at home policy, HUM 103, as presented by administration, that town council approve the work at home policy, HUM-103. The provincial government mandated that employees must consider having their employees work from home in a recent response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Working from home could occur during either other events that impact our daily operations. The town of Bruderheim is committed to the safety and well-being of its employees and its role in the assurance of business continuity during any event that creates barriers to employees working from their typical location of employment with the town. Strategic plan areas, working from home provides assurance of business continuity during times when employees cannot be at the typical location of employment. Healthy, vibrant community, ensuring that all residents and employees in our community are safe. Open and transparent government, a community that is educated on the responsibilities and limitations of council. Other impacts, emergency management protocols, directive and regulations as set out by the federal and provincial governments, occupational health, safety, legislative requirements. The work from home policy will be considered during times of the spreading of infectious disease, pandemic responses, or any other situation is deemed applicable by the Chief Administrative Officer of the town. This policy will be shared with all employees. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for that. Looking for a motion from council to approve the work from home policy.
I can
Make
bring
that
that forward.
motion.
Councillor Pat,
I move that town council approve the work at home policy HUM-103.
thank you for that. Any comments, questions, or concerns with the motion on this work at home policy?
I have
Councillor
a
Judy,
que-
and then Councillor Pat.
I have a couple questions. So do they all have to be logged in when they're working from home? Like logged in on the computer?
Have to be? Well, not
Yes.
necessarily if they're working on something that doesn't require you to be, like you could be,
Online?
like I've been doing in the binders, like editing existing Cs. I'm still a paper person. So we do have every morning where all the staff check in, and administration has started a morning check-in at 10 just to chat and see how things are going. And Dennis and I, so far Dennis, Willard, and me are the only the 3 people, and we regularly check in during the day. So they don't technically have to be on the computer. They could be working on other things. But
Okay. And my second question, are you able to see if they've logged in on their computers?
yes,
That's all I have.
I'm
Thank you.
sure we've seen on social media all the rigs they've come up with for moving the mouse every 15 minutes. And
No, I haven't seen that. I know other municipalities are having issues. And I mean, it's seeing the output of what the employees are doing. I don't think it's a bad thing. It's just that some don't have good work-home ethics, right? Because they've never had to do it. So it's a challenge to make
So-
sure that they're in the quiet areas and all that kind of stuff.
Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Schuler, I don't even have any concerns with that. The output is significantly higher because you're not being disturbed at home. The issues I'm more concerned about are security and confidentiality, not leaving things around on your desk. And, you know, there's, especially with the finance side of the house, and my side of the house, right? There's
Yeah.
a lot of confidential stuff that, so more I've been working with staff on that, not leaving things lying about and getting lost. And administration has started a sign out policy too. If you're taking anything home, we know where that is. We left a log on every person's desk of anything that we have at home currently. If something was to happen to that staff member, they got sick or weren't able to work, then at least we would know when we phoned the family what we were looking for if we needed to retrieve it. So that's a bigger part of my concern, is making sure that our assets, some people have taken other monitors home to help with their work and documents. So tracking those, I think, is the most important thing for us.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. Thanks.
Thank you for that. Councillor Pat,
Just
and then Councillor Wayne.
just kind of checking in, page 3 on the 4 pages. The agreement agreed to by employee. It's not representing the town of Rocky Mountain House. Is that is this a template?
No, Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Lee.
This is a borrow, kind of.
Yeah, we steal pieces from lots of different places. So thank you for that.
No problem. No problem.
Thanks, Councillor
They're a
Pat.
very nice community though, so we should involve them in
know.
everything we're doing.
Thank you. Councillor Wayne.
Would this be considered working alone at all?
No, actually, that's a great question, Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Lecco. I looked into that because, as you know, we have a working alone app. So when staff are alone, they're checking in and they're doing a really good job. But when you're working from home, the Workmen's Compensation believes that you don't have any danger because you're familiar with your surroundings. And we have provided staff with a sheet, though, making sure you know, you have a good space, lighting, you know, watching, getting your rest breaks and stretch breaks. And but yeah, there's no, from a Workmen's Compensation, it's not considered working alone.
And how often will they just be checking in just to say, hey, things are going okay?
Well, Dennis
Like, is
checks
it-
in every 15 minutes. That gets kind of annoying. I've challenged, so as you know, one finance person is always at home, and either Dennis or Willard has been at home, and I'm kind of the floater. So I've challenged who's ever supervising whoever to be checking in every hour. Just, I think there's a
Okay.
lot of emails going back and forth. Sherry can probably attest to that. And we're working on things together in our teams. So I'm very comfortable with the check-ins and what we're working. And we started the administration call every day just so we can all touch base on what we're all working on and any new developments on anything, because so much of what we do ties into each other. So yeah, and it's kind of interesting because Jill's been working at home her entire career with Bruderheim, and now she's included in it, and she's found that very useful. So yeah, some good things have come from COVID, right? That we're sharing a little bit more. It's just a 15-minute touch base, and yeah, it's working really well.
Good. Like I said, just a lot of these people are not necessarily here, but they can be working at home, but rest of their family is out working and they are by themselves, right? I just want to make sure that they're on the safe side.
Absolutely. No, I have the same concerns. And we are rotating. As you know, Sharon's in right now and Andrew is at home. I'm at home and Dennis is at home, and then we'll flip next week again.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you for that question and the answer. Any other comments? So Councillor George has his hand up.
Yes, when your people are working away from home, do they fill out the FLHA?
So, Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Campbell, I reached out to Occupational Health and Safety, and we do not have to do that working from home.
You don't have to fill out a field level hazard assessment then?
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Campbell, no. Because field level assessment is when generally you're in a different space and a different setup every time you go there, and you have different people and different equipment. So the assumption is you know your home.
Now, when these people are working from home, who is covering the positions that should be covered here? I'm talking about the public works people.
So, Mr. Mayor, the only, through Councillor Campbell, Mr. Thomashat and Mr. Marsh are the only two able to work from home because of the administrative. Mr. Marsh is our safety officer in training, so he's doing all those things that we're trying to get done. And of course, if it snows or there's a water break, of course they're going to be in. And Mr. Thomashat always has projects that we're working on for reporting and on the utility side of the house, and we're working on budgets, and there's always lots to do. So there's no dropping of work.
So what you're saying that there's enough work for 8 hours a day to keep these people busy at home?
Probably 15 hours a day.
Oh,
we're looking at policies and safe work practices, and we haven't done a lot of our training manuals for a lot of our equipment specific. So, and Dennis and me are doing some long-term budgeting and looking at things that we never really get a chance to do, training and development and succession planning. And so, yeah. As you know, there's less people coming to the office, so that reduces the amount of people that you need to come. Most customers are only coming that have no access to the internet.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the question and thanks for the answer. Any other comments, questions, or concerns from council on this motion?
And Mr. Mayor, just through council, once the province declared that everybody has to work at home that can work from home, myself and the directors sat down and we said, okay, who could work from home? And you have to be justified if an inspector came, why there'd be 4 people in the office if 2 of them could work from home. So that's what we did. We identified that Dennis and Willard could do some work from home, and me and Sherry and Sharon and Andrea could work from home as well. So just making sure we're covered in the office and looking at the 14-day rotations so that if one of us became infected or there was a case come to the office, that the people that weren't there could carry on for business continuity. So putting all of those things into perspective as well.
Thank you.
Good job.
So if they became essential, then that would be different, right?
Pardon, Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry.
If they were deemed as essential, then that would be a different ballgame then, right? I did notice one thing on page 5.2, 2 of 5, under the director's will, 5.2.4, it says ensure that all employees, the necessary, must be a word missing there. Just picked up a little typo there.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And the other thing I wanted to ask is I may have missed it when I was reading through it, but I didn't see anything about making sure that we provide for any ergonomic needs in case they don't have it at home, or are we required to supply that, or what would be the kind of the game plan for that portion?
Mr. Mayor, we're not required to, but we are letting employees take their chairs home, extra monitors, anything that makes it better. Like I said, we have a sign-in sheet at every desk. We're lucky that we're pretty small. We know exactly where everything is. So
okay.
Yeah, I bought a few more cables and cords and a few printers so people could print minimally at home. And other than that, we were pretty good to go.
Right on. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure we're covering the safety end for the folks that have to work from home. So thank you.
So about the only, excuse me, Carol, the button. So the
Go ahead,
only real
Councillor George.
concern that we have is the security end of the working at home. As far as information getting.
So, Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Campbell, yes, I did check with Occupational Health and Safety, and we are adhering to all those guidelines. And we also have to make sure that we're working on wellness right now, employee wellness, and making sure that adaptation from work to home, back to home, isn't causing more stress. So we're trying to. The really great thing about everything being in the cloud now is that we all have access to files and sharing of files, and the technology is there to support people working remotely, that's for sure.
Are
Thank
we
you very
having
much.
internet problems?
No, nobody's said anything about internet problems.
Okay, so they must be dealt specially with something, because I know there's been internet problems throughout town. Good for them.
They have problem working at home with their spouses. That might be a wellness problem.
Hey, we won't discuss them.
Okay.
And Dennis, working from home doesn't mean repairing your own driveway, okay?
Yeah.
That's not working from home.
Well, I'm a little
We're
too far
watching
away for that
TV.
to happen.
Thank you for that. Any other comments, questions, or concerns from council on this motion? Okay, we'll call for a vote then. Anyone opposed to this motion? So if those little touch-ups, they'll get done. We don't have to make mention of them, right? Okay.
No, Mr. Mayor, those administrative, yeah.
So if there's no one opposed to the motion, then the motion is carried. And we move on to 9.1, council committee reports. Be looking for a motion to receive the council committee reports as information. Councillor Wayne.
Council receive the council committee reports as information.
Thank you for that motion. Any comments, questions, or concerns with that motion? Hearing none, call for a vote. Anyone opposed to this motion? And the motion's carried. So we move on to 9.2, mayor report. Would someone make the motion to receive the mayor report?
I'll make that motion.
Councillor George.
I'll make a motion that council receive the mayor's report as information.
Thank you for that. Oh, did I lose it? I just have to flip the screen on a computer here. There we go. Sorry about that. Thanks for that motion, Councillor George. Anyone opposed to that motion? I just wanted to make mention, I don't think it made the report because it was something last minute. The Water Commission had an online meeting this morning with myself and Councillor Warwa, Mayor Tim from Vegreville, and Councillor Gord from Fort Saskatchewan, and Councillor Bill Tanita, and we met and talked about the Northeast Commission and working together with the John S. Patoot Commission, and it was a very good meeting, and was without administration. There was thankfully from Strathcona a person to scribe the notes from the meeting, and we have committed to another meeting and near the end of January to talk about the further talks on the issues that we have regarding the John S. Patoot Commission working together with the Northeast Water Commission. So that one didn't make my report. I just wanted to make sure that I highlighted that for you guys.
Interesting.
So any questions from that? Okay, call for a vote then. Although anyone opposed to the mayor report as information? Hearing none, then the motion is carried, and we look for a report to receive the CAO report as information.
I can do that.
Thank you, Councillor Pat.
I move that council receive the chief administrative officer report as information.
Thank you for that motion. Any questions on the CAO report? Councillor Wayne.
Discussions with Elk Island Public Schools, is that completed now? Is that signed, sealed, delivered, ready to go?
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Alecko, no, unfortunately, they changed our contact persons in facilities. So we haven't sealed that deal yet.
Does it sound promising or?
Absolutely,
still-
yeah. I haven't
Okay.
seen anything. It's just I think they did a little bit of internal restructuring with all the challenges of the pandemic facing the schools. So we just kind of got put on the back burner. And obviously, we're not going to be going into the schools in 2021 till the fall for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah,
There's
no,
lots of
it's all
time.
very positive, and it's just a contractual, our lawyer and their lawyer to review, and I think we'll be good.
Okay, perfect. Public Works roof, is that completed then? Or
Mr.
no?
Mayor, through Councillor Lecco, I don't believe it is. Mr. Tomashek, they're still working on it.
Mr. Mayor, through the Councilor Letko, it should be done, we're hoping by Tuesday of next week.
Okay, awesome. One more thing. Development permit for property in West Woodlands. Is that a new or is it addition? Is it something small? Do you know what that is?
Mrs. Cote, do you have an update on that one? I think you
Oh,
just
yeah.
muted yourself, Sherry.
Sorry, sorry. It is for a small development on an existing property.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you for
I
that.
think that's it. Thank you.
Thanks. Councillor Judy.
So your communication, I see you've given us some ideas of websites, Facebook and Twitter. Could I ask that you give us like a summary of every 3 months or every month on an ongoing basis? Because then you can really know if your numbers are going up. Because I don't know if I can remember what was happening last time we got these numbers. Looks like it's specifically Facebook and website, you know, you can track, you know, if people have made comments or whatever. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to do that with Twitter and the others. More what I'm interested in is if it's increasing, right? Are you doing something different now that it could increase it? That's more what I'm looking for. And the numbers will help. Please.
Sure.
Thank you for that. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Councillor George has his hand up.
I was still receiving negative feedback from about the changing over of the new billing process for utilities. That sort of cooled down and people are becoming more.
We've officially not got any negative feedback, just people seeking clarity. If you're speaking to social media, nobody's posted negatively on our Facebook page. They've just asked for clarity and questions, and people have phoned to the office not understanding. So
that's good that people are being acceptive to our methods of.
the positive side to some social media posts that you may or not have seen is the door knockers worked because they were delivered that day, and that day there was conversation. So we're looking for different ways. Like I said, I don't read mail outs in my envelope, my bill envelopes. I don't read newsletters. I don't go on social media. So we're just looking at different ways to grab as many people's attention as we can. Some people have phoned in and said, what will my bill be? And we run it, we call it the sandbox. And to give them an idea of what their bill would be. So open to any more suggestions if council has other suggestions.
I have one more question. It's directed to our Public Works, Dennis. It's in regards to the water leak that we had. We did the audit in 2019 of all of our CC valves. Was this one of the valves that was malfunction?
Mr. Mayor, through to Councillor Campbell, my apologies. I didn't catch the first part of that question. I didn't hear anything there. So if you could repeat that, please.
My question is, we had the water leak a few days ago, and one of the problems we run into was a CC could not be actioned. Was that valve part of the 2019 audit that we had? And was that valve noted that it was malfunctioned?
Mr. Mayor, through to Councillor Campbell, in 2018 is when we did the audit. We had a summer student do that for us. Back then, we were locating and identifying CCs. We were not exercising the CCs, all of them. This one in particular had a bent rod, and I think if all council knows, there's a rod that goes all the way down to the valve. The rod was bent approximately 3 feet down. We would never have seen that on a visual. And the fact that the the operator's box. So it's a box that goes around the CC, the valve. It was completely rotted out. So it was completely, we wouldn't have been able to turn it even if the rod was good. There was dirt compiled over years. I suspect that house is 40+ years old. Yeah, so there's nothing we can do. I think I've brought to council on several occasions, several meetings, that these are the things that we find when we go to isolate a water line or turn down water or try to exercise these CCs. There's a tremendous amount in town that have, and I don't want to use the word neglected, they have not been operated in many, many years. So with that regard, they do become inoperative. And at that point, what you saw, I believe some councillors may have seen a few days ago, we have to hydrovac it out and get the rod and operator box replaced along with the cotter pin that holds the rod in. That is the standard. Thank goodness we didn't have to replace the valve, because that changes things. We would have had to shut down the water mains. And I think hopefully that answered your question, Councillor Campbell.
Was there not a shut off in the house that was accessible?
Mr. Mayor, through the Councillor Campbell, the basement was completely submerged in water. And if council will indulge me, I'll just give you a brief outline. Operators found the water leak, if you will, when they went to go do their meter reads. I believe our CAO had sent a correspondence out regarding what we had done to do that. And that was first with the RF meters. We didn't see anything. We had to go out and do the manual inputs. When my operators went by that house in particular, water was noted to be coming out of the windows. The basement is a full 8-foot basement. It was full of water. And just to give council an idea, we were well over 500 cubic meters between that house and 2 other houses that it had flowed into. So no operator or no person that owned the house would be going down into the basement where the water meter was. It was completely submerged. Power was cut off by Fortis, and ATCO gas was come in to isolate. So that's our only recourse.
So,
Well,
Mr.
you
Mayor,
did the
through
same thing then.
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Campbell, I just want to make sure you understand that the CC was not the cause of the leak, right?
No. I understand that the cause of the leak was inside of the house.
Yeah.
The only thing that if we would have had that there CC activated and working properly, it wouldn't have taken so long to shut down the system. And that's not the fault of our public works. It's just the fault of we didn't have it didn't show up on our audit.
Mr. Mayor, through the Councillor Campbell, I just want to reassure you, there was only a 45-minute window. Our contractors responded, I found to be the quickest they've ever responded. They were out there in 45 minutes. We had it isolated in an hour. In that 1 hour, we lost approximately a cubic meter. That was it. So there was no extra damage or extra mitigation of those types of damages. They did very well.
Just as so long as we cannot be held liable for it. That's what my question is.
Not a bit. No.
And Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Campbell, another thing as well is we've had a few of these basement floods. We're not going to send staff in to do the shut off within a house when the electrical and gas are submerged. So it's a safety issue as well.
That's a good call on our part of our public works people. Kudos.
Thank you for doing a great job on a difficult assignment there. Any other comments, questions, or concerns on the CAO? Oh, Councillor Len has his hand up.
Yeah, on the water bills, you are still going to be sending them out to people like me who do not have computers, so we can pay our water bill, so we can get them. And I like the newsletter and everything else.
I do too.
So, Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Florida, absolutely, they're still going out. And if you sign up for electronic bill, you also get your newsletter sent to you too electronically. So
That's not going to happen.
Yeah. It costs about $1,000 a month to send utility bills out. So the more people that sign up, the better it is.
I went in and paid mine before you sent it out, and you still send it out.
Oh my. Okay, thank you. Does that answer your question, Councillor Len?
No, that's very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Len, I just want to let you know too that we've had a lot of requests in the last 2 years to get electronic billing in place. So I like paper billing as well still. I like to touch my bills for some weird reason. So, but we've had a lot of requests for people to do electronic. A lot of people work out of town and just prefer, or if they're landlords, they like to get it emailed, not worry about the mail system.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions, or concerns on the CAO report? I just had a couple of questions. Under the first page on the utilities, it said the Brookside lift station failed on December 18th. What was the reason for the failure? I didn't catch what that was.
Mr. Thomashat, I'll let you take that one.
Mr. Mayor, so if council will remember several months ago, we had issues with power outages there. And one of the ones that's causing the issue is the fact that we don't have a PLC there. Everything is switching devices, and it's kind of complicated to explain, but it's an old system. The fuse blocks that are in there are 30 plus years old. It's just outdated. So it keeps, one of the fuse blocks keep tripping out our pumps. But thank goodness the alarm systems that we put in place a few years back have saved us in not flooding out basements. So the alarm systems are working. It's the electronics and the controls that need to be redone, which is something that we are doing, which should be done hopefully by the end of January.
Great, thank you for that. And on the second page under general, it mentions about the speed boards being requested for Bruderheim. Do we know if this was granted for Bruderheim?
Go ahead, Mr. Thomashat.
Mr. Mayor, so I sit on the Elk Island Traffic Committee there. So I did request the boards. My understanding was they were in the town of Lamont, or the town of Lamont had requested them. They're sitting at the County of Lamont's Public Works shop. They were going to get back to me right away on that, and I do have that as a follow-up item. I'm hoping that we get them within the next month. It didn't appear that they were being used. So I think at that time we would ask for council's thoughts on where we would like to place those, just to keep those speeds in check. I think they worked really, really well before, and perhaps by having those up again, it's a good awareness for everybody.
Thank you for that. Any other questions or comments on the CAO report? Councillor Wayne.
I am very, 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 very hopeful, fingers crossed, toes crossed, that we can maybe use an arena very soon. How long does it take to get the arena up and running if that were I mean, it's up and running, but I noticed you've increased the temperature. Does it take long for it to go back down?
Mr. Mayor, through the Councillor Letko. So the temperature's just been raised up to 22. We usually run it at 18. It takes approximately 12 hours to drive the temperatures back down.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Any other questions on the CAO report? The good old hockey game? Anyways, we need to vote on the CAO report as information. Anyone opposed to the motion? Hearing none, then the motion's carried. Okay, correspondence and information. The only correspondence that I have that's new is there was an email from a developer inquiring about potential lots in Bruderheim. So that was interesting to hear about, and I believe Sherry responded to that. So that was the only, and that was someone that I was not familiar with. So that's the only correspondence that I had to bring forward. So that was kind of positive. So now we need to have a comfort break if someone wants. What time do we got? 7:50. Does council want to have a comfort break, or we just go out of the public session into the closed session?
Just go to the closed session.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need a motion to close the public session.
Make that motion.
Councillor George?
I'll make a motion that we go out of public session and go into closed session.
Okay, so we'll close the public session. Thank you for that. Any comments, questions, or concerns with that motion? Haven't heard none. Call for vote. Anyone opposed to that motion? And the motion's carried. And then we'll need a motion to go into the closed session.
I can read that one.
Thank you.
I think Councillor Wayne beat you this time, Councillor Pat.
Oh,
Very quick.
I make a motion to go into closed session.
Thank you for that motion. Any comments, questions, or concerns with that motion? Okay, haven't heard none. Call for a vote. Anyone opposed to the motion to go into closed session? And now we are in closed session.
Mr. Mayor, if I
Yeah.
can just let our viewers know that we'll stop live streaming, and then once we come back into public session, we'll live stream again.
Great.